Good morning, everybody in the UK, and good afternoon to all our colleagues and listeners in ASEAN. My name is Paul North at the UK-ASEAN Business Council, and I would like to welcome you all to our UK-ABC Digital Export Series, Successful Growth in Malaysia. UK-ABC Digital Series, Successful Growth in Malaysia. There has been decades of growth and stability have made and helped Malaysia, an industrialised, relatively open economy with consistent growth. Malaysia offers opportunities across a wide range of sectors for UK exporters as demand increases for a variety of goods and services. Today, we hear about why Malaysia should be your next export destination from our panel of experts. We have Jennifer Lopez, who is the Executive Director at the British Malaysian Chamber of Commerce, Vikrama Kumaravel, who's the Asian Desk Director, Corporate and Commercial Banking at Santander, along with his colleague Hussam Sultan, who's the Regional Head, Commercial Islamic at CIMB Bank in Malaysia. Before we hear from our speakers, just to let you know that all attendees are in mute mode, and you can send in at any time questions for our presenters through the question box in the lower section of the webinar dashboard. We will endeavour to answer these during the Q&A session at the end of the presentations. The webinar will be recorded and will be available on our media channel shortly after, as well as the presentation slide decks will also be shared. So just to set the scene for today's event. ASEAN, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, was established in 1967 to accelerate cultural development, economic growth, and social progress throughout the region, and since 1967 has grown to include those 10 countries you see there on the slide, all very diverse economically, culturally, and politically, from the high-tech market of Singapore to the recently opened up market of Myanmar. It has a young, dynamic consumer market with a population of over 630 million and an age of just 26. It's where the growth is, or was pre-COVID, and like all markets, has seen a decline in its economy. However, it is predicted that because of this strength, ASEAN will be one of the first economies, if not the first region, to bounce back strongly. Next slide. So where do we fit into this? The UK-ASEAN Business Council, we are the leading UK-based organisation promoting trade and investment between the UK and ASEAN's dynamic markets, not just to drive that pipeline of UK companies looking to do business with Southeast Asia, but also acting as a conduit for ASEAN companies looking for partnering here in the UK. We help companies of all sizes build new contacts, provide market insights, and raise the awareness of the vast commercial opportunities. We also bring ASEAN to the UK through a sustained calendar of events. I would encourage you to visit our website, ukabc.org.uk. So without further ado, let me hand over to Jennifer Lopez, the Executive Director of the British Malaysian Chamber of Commerce, for her presentation. Over to you, Jenny.
In Asia. So today what I'll do is that I will share with you an overview of Malaysia, how businesses are coping, and then I will move on to share some opportunities for UK businesses. In terms of overview, for those of you who are not familiar, Malaysia is in the center of Southeast Asia. You know, we are one of the emerging markets in Southeast Asia, just above Kuala Lumpur, just above Singapore and below Thailand. Malaysia has become a gold standard for developing countries in the region with a 32 million population. English is widely spoken. It is a business language, and it is, in addition, Malay is our national language, and Mandarin is also widely spoken. So a lot of people see Malaysia as a talent hub for those who are keen to trade with China, because it's widely spoken. We have the talent. Our GDP growth before the current situation, the last 2 years, has been from 6.1% to 4.4%. We closed at 4.4 the end of 2019. As mentioned, we have a skilled talent pool, and the government has continuous efforts in upgrading our talent. There are lots of programs in place to ensuring our talents are relevant for businesses. In line with, not just the recent conditions, Malaysian government has always put a strong focus on the digital infrastructure and transformation, as more and more companies in Malaysia are looking in transforming into the digital world. There has also been strong shift to the services and knowledge-based and innovation-based economy. So there's wide opportunity for UK businesses, as UK has always been recognized for their professional expertise and services. Because of Malaysia's location, we are your gateway to ASEAN. Next slide, please. Why Malaysia? Malaysia, as I mentioned, has a vibrant business economy, very much market-oriented economy. We are part of the Commonwealth, so there's a strong affinity towards British-made goods and services, well recognized in the market, British expertise, well-developed financial system. Banks banks, we have well-established UK banks which have been in the market for more than 100 years. In terms of the government support, the government is fully supportive of welcoming investors, pro-business policies, responsive government policies, and many tax incentives in place. In terms of Malaysia was listed 12th as the country for ease of doing business. In terms of, again, the educated workforce, I've already mentioned to you, in terms of a talented multilingual workforce. In addition, our infrastructure is well developed. So those of you who have been to Malaysia will know that we have well connected roads, highways, our ports and airports. And the telco infrastructure and services are also of high quality. Next slide, please. Okay, so how has the current situation impacted Malaysia and businesses? Has, around the world, definitely you cannot deny it has impacted. We have taken, the government has taken a 5-phase approach, preventive measures. We have put in place movement control orders, or it's not a total lockdown, but it's more on more on control movement orders in terms of restrictions in movements, strict safety conditions. So currently we are at the 5th phase. We are more 5th phase. It's more than 75 days. However, businesses have started opening up. And the next announcement, the conditional order is up to June 9th. So we are waiting to hear what the new announcement will be like. So the economic impact of the movement control and lockdowns obviously has, we have broad travel restrictions. The borders are closed at the moment. So it has affected severely the tourism sector and the aviation sector. Production disruption to overall supply and demand chain in the manufacturing. We have seen a slight drop on year-on-year percentage in terms of 3%. Exports have declined. We have done, from the Department for Statistics in Malaysia, we've done a survey showing that companies during the MCO period have no revenue at all, and the main challenges has been on salary and rental payments. So this is not unusual. Everyone around the world is facing similar situations. And in addition, Malaysia is an oil producing country, so there has been added pressure due to the plunge in global crude oil prices, especially towards exporting countries. Next slide, please. So in terms of, just to share with you, earlier I mentioned the GDP was about 4%. So we are expecting a down in our decline in GDP rates. So the growth is predicted, it will be negative 2.0 to 0.5%. Next slide, please. So saying all that, we have not been keeping still. The Malaysian government has, taken the action to combat the the impact of COVID-19. So as you can see, to reduce the economic impact of COVID-19 and to preserve the long-term attractiveness, the government has put in place a stimulus. In fact, 3 stimulus packages were announced to a total of 58 billion, including 10 billion to support businesses. So, and the government has also announced that there is they are looking at a 6-phase economy recovery plan. We are actually towards the road of recovery, I would say. Many businesses have opened up. In fact, even the BMCC, we have opened our doors to our stakeholders. We are working. However, businesses are operating with strict SOPs on health conscious, social distancing. It's good to see. If you go into KL, you see traffic is accumulating again. So it's good to see the economic opening up. But however, there's much to be done. So with that, I would just like to share what are the short-term opportunities and the long-term opportunities for UK businesses, considering, we are looking at the road to recovery. In terms of the UK businesses, opportunities for UK businesses, definitely in current conditions, technology is a key, opportunity. Before even we went into the COVID pandemic scenario, there were already in demand for, IR 4.0 in the manufacturing sector. The government has been putting into place, efforts to promote Industry 4.0, entrepreneurship, digital entrepreneurship, digital economy. So in terms of the sectors, I would say tech is number one. Our e-commerce has become a demand across all sectors in terms of retail, in terms of everyone is trying to move into digital. Number two, today we'll be talking further on the food and drinks sector, so I will not share so much about it. So that is another sector that is an opportunity for UK businesses. I mentioned about IR 4.0. Advanced manufacturing is something that companies that are looking at for now. Also green technology, because we have a plan in place to achieve renewable energy targets. So that will be an area to explore. Education has always been important for Malaysia, UK education, because of the history between Malaysia and UK. We are the only country in ASEAN, or I don't know if it's globally, we have 5 UK university campuses located in Malaysia. So well received UK education. If you look at education now, Malaysia is looking at STEM education, e-learning, in terms of vocational TVET. Yep. Next slide, please. Okay. In the medium term, we will say that healthcare is something that there's opportunity in healthcare, especially in terms of digital elderly care. And Malaysia currently has done very well in terms of combating the COVID-19 pandemic. So there is a lot of opportunity there. Energy, oil and gas, before the oil price crisis, we were looking at decommissioning, but currently we are looking more at optimizing operations, services that will look at optimizing operations and digitalization. Last but not least, and a sector that's key for Malaysia is infrastructure. Saying that currently the infrastructure, because of the current situation, has been put on hold, but it is recovering. Some of the major projects are started again, so that's good. There will be, again, across all sectors, digital is always key. So this is just a brief overview on the opportunities for UK companies. If you are more keen to understand more about it, do reach out to us. Later there will be contact details there, and if you are offering any services in these sectors, we'll be happy to speak to you. Next slide, please. Okay, just to share with you a blend of UK companies in Malaysia. Carry on. Next slide, please. Okay, now I'll say how does the BMCC play a role, and to share with you about the British Malaysian Chamber of Commerce. As I mentioned, British presence in Malaysia, the UK presence in Malaysia is very well established. The chamber itself has been established since 1963, and we are firm rooted as one of Southeast Asia's most prolific chambers, currently with a strong membership base of 270 companies, both British companies and also Malaysian companies that have strong links with UK. What we do at the chamber is, as a network, we provide networking, business to business engagement. One of the key areas that our members appreciate is the second pillar of our value proposition to our members is branding and positioning of the brands in the market. Number 3 is through our sector committees, where sectors such as education, where we are strong, oil and energy, we do have committees to advocate the engagement with the government. So members come together to look at opportunities for UK businesses, to create more opportunities, and also to advocate for the businesses in Malaysia. So the chamber facilitates that role for UK businesses in Malaysia. And a very key pillar that we offer, we are a bilateral chamber, our trade and market entry services for UK businesses. Next slide, please. Okay, in terms of trade and market entry services, currently the BMCC is the official delivery partner for the Department for International Trade in UK in Malaysia. So we are your business partner. We work closely with the Department for International Trade. We look at certain sectors, and certain priority sectors are handled by our colleagues at DIT. But saying that, we collaborate, we talk to each other often. So do reach out to us if you are interested in extending or exporting into Malaysia. So the services that we provide are business matching, B2B, tailored market research report. In terms of event management services, we have done product launches, bespoke networking events. We can do trade webinars for you. We have also in the past hosted trade missions into Malaysia, working with colleagues and partners in the UK. Next slide, please. To share with you, this is one of our success stories. I know that everyone is saying, yes, Jennifer, you have shared so much. Can you share a success story? So we are very proud to have supported Naylor's Farm into Malaysia. This is quite recent. About 2 years ago, we did the product launch for them. And currently, they are established in Malaysia. They are a proud member of the chamber. They started to launch their cabbage, pre-packed cabbages. Currently, they are in 29 grocery stores. Jaya Grocer is a local grocery store, 29 grocery stores nationwide. In addition, they have expanded their business, and they have like last year, they got a contract with, I'm sure you're familiar with KFC. So Naylor's Farm actually currently supplies cabbages to the KFC outlets in Malaysia. So we congratulate Naylor's Farm, and we are so pleased to work. We have had the opportunity to work with them in Malaysia. Next slide, please. So I'm coming to the end of my session. Before I end and pass it back to Paul, I'd just like to share that we have a publication available. This is also in collaboration with UK-ABC. It's called Malaysia Opportunities for UK Businesses. Some of the messages that I shared today is incorporated in that publication. Do reach out to us, and we will be happy to share a copy with you. Some of you may already have it. Please do look out for a series of trade webinars where we will focus on sector-specific webinars. We'll share on the impact of the COVID-19 to specific sectors, and also how the sector is recovering and the opportunities. For UK businesses who are already in the market, are looking to get connections to various services, we also have a catalog that provides a list of expertise from our membership itself. So, and that's my presentation for now. But before I hand it over to Paul, I just wanted to caution a lot of companies that want to trade, do reach out to the BMCC or the DIT contact in Malaysia or UK-ABC before you connect with anyone in Malaysia. That is the best way, and we want to be your business partner. Back to you, Paul. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jennifer, for that insight into the Chamber and its activities, but also about the opportunities in Malaysia and the support that you can offer for UK companies. And we do have a couple of questions which I'll come back to you later on about that support. And just to remind our attendees, please continue to send us in questions to our presenters, which we'll answer at the end of the presentation. So talking about additional support that's available for UK exporters, let's now hand over to Vikrama to tell us a little bit about Santander's offering for SMEs. Over to you, Vic.
Perfect, Paul. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Santander is a proud partner of the UK-ASEAN Business Council. I myself am Malaysian, so it's always great when I get the opportunity to sit and speak to people about home. So Santander, the ASEAN Trade Corridor for us is a relatively new corridor. We've been running it for a little bit, about 1.5 to 2 years now. What we like to do, or what's at the heart of our DNA, is we help SMEs connect with other businesses in other parts of the world. So we want to work with British companies to help them get international. In order to do this, we have, I call it the triple or the trident approach to banking. You have your traditional relationship managers who will look after your banking needs, your financing requirements, and be your main point of contact. You have sector heads that will have links to trade bodies and will speak the language that you speak. They are not bankers by trade. Majority of our sector heads are people who have come from industry. And you have regional leads such as myself, who have ties or links to the regions that we cover. The slide that you're looking at now shows Santander's scale and presence. We have 6.5 million corporate SMEs in the UK and 34 regional corporate business centers around the UK. Next slide, please. So the Trade Club Alliance. So what Trade Club Alliance is a consortium of 14 banks, 14 like-minded banks that have small and medium enterprises at the heart of your strategy and are passionate about helping our clients expand, and by facilitating introductions, business matching, and connectivity events. One of the things that a lot of our partners and us have realized that our clients are the greatest asset that we have that is not on our balance sheet. And in order to be able to leverage this asset, we need to be more active and more engaging with our clients and help them grow bigger. So you can see CIMB, who is our partner bank who is speaking after me, are on this list. We made a conscious effort not to go into Southeast Asia, but to partner with someone like CIMB, who are a fantastic bank in the region and have such a wide breadth and scale. And I'm sure CIMB will tell you how big they are and what they could offer you when they speak next. Next slide, please. So a lot of people, the question I get asked a lot is, well, Vic, you want to help British companies and all, how do you do it in practice, right? So we go out and we build ecosystems that have different partner organizations in it. So the UK-ASEAN Business Council is part of my ASEAN ecosystem. If I'm working on a particular sector, like manufacturing, we work with Make UK, automotive, we have SMMT. So the partners are there, the ecosystem's created. So please, if you are keen to know more about a particular sector in a particular part of the world, please do reach out. If it's not ASEAN, if it's something else, we are more than happy to have a conversation to see how we can help and how we can be of assistance. We get a lot of our clients and a lot of our prospects wanting to talk to us and using us as a center for information as to what opportunities are out there, but more importantly, how do you actually access these opportunities in practice? Next slide, please. My work, I look at it, it's split into two approaches as to how I like to present opportunities to our clients. You have the more ad hoc approach where I may choose to work I may get a referral, or a company may approach me wanting to set up in Malaysia, and we will work on that as an ad hoc basis. or we have a more structured approach. A more structured approach is we choose a sector and we decide to build an ecosystem around the sector and really drill down and offer some form of connectivity event. I have two sectors. I'm not going to spend much time on this because Hussam, who's speaking after this, will go into detail on halal, but we've decided to focus on halal food and drink purely because Malaysia is a world leader in halal certification, and CIMB are one of the leaders in Malaysia and the wider ASEAN market in terms of pushing the halal agenda and the halal initiative out to companies and helping drive that halal trade that comes into Malaysia and gets out of Malaysia into the wider ASEAN and Asia Pacific remit. Next slide, please. Another sector that I'm looking at is retail and wholesale. Initially, pre-COVID-19, the view was always that there's always a demand. The angle for Southeast Asia is to sell. We want to talk to companies about the demand side of the curve. Now, and that was also with a view of getting them into shopping centers. You know, how can we create a splash around a brand? How can we do pop-up stores? How can we get them into the likes of the decent retail malls with large footfalls? However, now that is moving a little bit. That's evolving into, yes, there is a demand opportunity, but it's also a supply opportunity. The demand side of it looks a little bit different now since COVID-19 because e-commerce penetration rates are low in Southeast Asia on the retail side compared to, if you look at internet penetration, it's strong, but e-commerce sales are low. Singapore, for example, a country that a lot of people associate with being high tech, only do 9% of retail sales online. Malaysia, it's close to 5%. Now you're going to see that shift because a lot of people are going online or doing their first online transactions over the last 2 to 3 months because they have no choice but to do it. So we are building a solution for that. And we are also building a solution around supply chain. There's been a lot of talk about supply chain opportunities, companies wanting to diversify out of China, split the concentration risk of production in China. And now you've heard about the China Plus One model. I've been working with partners in the region, and if you read the media tells you that there's a lot of opportunity in Vietnam, which is certainly the case. There is a lot of opportunity in Vietnam, but if you look at ASEAN, there's opportunity in Indonesia, Cambodia, Malaysia. There are different pockets in ASEAN, Malaysia included, where there is opportunity. I share all of this because we have an ecosystem that we've built, so please, in regards to halal, in regards to wholesale and retail, if you want to know more, please get in touch with us. Let's have a conversation. I will be more than happy to share what we've discovered and what we've learned along the way. Next slide, please. So this is my last slide. This is our trade portal. So Santander has an online trade portal, which is quite been well received by our clients and people that have used it. We've got good feedback on it. It is an online portal that is a wealth of information. If you're a client of Santander's, you will have access to it, and you can go online, search about different markets, different product codes, whether there is a demand for your product in a certain market, what are the trade flows like. You can even look at events that are coming up, all trade bodies, organizations that you want to connect with, their details. It's a real wealth of information. If you're not a client of ours, we're more than happy to set up a trial for you to go and explore it and see what you want to make out of it. So if that's of interest and you want to test it, please do get in touch and we're more than happy to set you up on it. So that brings me an end to my presentation, my slides. So Paul, back to you.
Thank you very much, Vic. A good overview of the services and support. And I was actually going to ask you a question about the trade portal, but you covered that one because it is an excellent platform, and I would definitely encourage people to go and have a look on that. I think there's a free trial for 30 days or 60 days, is it, Vic?
That's right, it's 30 days right now.
Lovely, good, thank you. So let's move now on to Hussam Sultan in Malaysia to talk a little bit about the local services available and the support for UK exporters. Over to you, Hassan.
Thank you, Paul, and good morning, everyone in sunny London from not very sunny KL, very cloudy actually here. What I thought I will do today is just get straight to the point, because everyone is talking about the post-COVID pandemic, the post-COVID era. What are we going to do after that? Everyone is waiting. Everyone is looking forward to that shift in business and how we could restart our economies and our businesses. Why does ASEAN have an appeal in the post-COVID-19 pandemic? Actually, this discussion I've started well before the pandemic, that this region here, ASEAN, which is, you know, the 10 countries, has got a lot of good points. Number one, it's you know, a vast economy, 630, mainly young population. The economy is diversified. It's many other good points. However, in the post-COVID-19, there are new discussions happening about diversification of supply chains. With the pandemic, a lot of businesses who have been overly dependent on China and Chinese manufacturers and Chinese suppliers of raw materials started rethinking. Now, what will happen if, you know, there is a situation like this where there is an extended periods of embargoes on certain countries? Can we diversify our suppliers? Can we diversify our manufacturers? Can we look into other alternative supply chains? ASEAN comes first for many reasons, and researchers have shown that ASEAN has particularly good points when it comes to diversification of supply chains away from China. Secondly, also another good point, which is good for businesses, is the fact that it's a large consumer market. You know, the UK-ASEAN trade corridor is estimated to be worth 37 billion pounds. That's more than the trade corridor between UK and Australia, the UK and India, the UK and Brazil. The ASEAN also as a bloc is the third largest consumer market after China and India. ASEAN is a consumer expenditure is set to double in real terms until 2030. So as a market, it's large enough for consumer goods, for food and beverages, for, you know, young labor market. Also, another important factor here is the innovation and the labor force. Post-COVID-19, there's a shift towards digital economy. You've all seen it. Today, I've had 2 discussions already with some of our customers here regarding e-commerce, setting up e-shops. Everyone is talking about the digital economy. Now, ASEAN is no difference. It represents the fastest growing internet region in the world, with population of under 60% under the age of 35. Increased global connectivity, tech-savvy, young population, and digital economy shifts. This in itself brings us to the next level. Now, how can we look further into Malaysia? Now, the topic here was not ASEAN in particular, but Malaysia. If I look into Malaysia and take Malaysia, zoom into Malaysia as one of the countries in ASEAN. Next slide, yes. The next slide, please. Thank you. Malaysia is a diversified and robust economy. It's the third largest Southeast Asia with high labor productivity. Now, it's the third economy in ASEAN, but it's not the third in terms of the number of you know, the population. The Philippines is highest, higher population than Malaysia. Indonesia definitely, Thailand, etc. But Malaysia is the third in terms of the strength of the economy. In terms of trade, international trade, Malaysia has a trade surplus. We export more than we import. That trade surplus has been double-digit growth for 3 consecutive years, widening by 11% to $332 billion in 2019. What has Malaysia been focusing on in the last 10 years? Quite a number of sectors. Malaysia is leading the world in terms of the export of electronics and electric components, semiconductors, circuits, etc., etc. Malaysia is the largest export products of. This is the largest product category of the exports of Malaysia, 35%. Another area that Malaysia has been growing fast globally is the halal business, food and beverages. Malaysia have established a center of excellence in globally, actually, in terms of overcoming issues like standardization and unifying the definitions and the standards of hygiene, and how do you the labeling issues for halal products. and the Malaysian standards have become since a gold standard for that. Now, Malaysia also is large in terms of fashion and textile, as well as having its own list of branded fashion labels. Malaysia also is making headway in budding modest fashion. This is a new growing area whereby Malaysia is leading the way in terms of the modest fashion brands and textile. Malaysia, I was actually, this is something probably new to many people, is the third largest manufacturer in the world of photovoltaic cells, the solar panels for renewable energy and solar panel, the solar panels. Basically, this is the third largest manufacturer of those cells after China and Taiwan. Malaysia also is the second largest exporter of palm oil, crude palm oil and processed palm oil. And I would say probably the largest of certified sustainable palm oil in the world.
If you can hear me, we seem to have lost your sound.
I'm so sorry. It's not muted. Can you hear me? Perhaps it's the quality of the connection. Can you hear me now? Hello?
Yes, Susan, we can hear you loud and clear on our side.
All right, guys. Thank you. In the post-COVID opportunities, there are a number of sectors and areas that have come out under the limelight as areas for potential growth for Malaysia going forward post-COVID-19 in terms of trade, in terms of the demand side also. Number one is the e-commerce and technology, online shopping, domestic and cross-border, the technologies that supports this infrastructure of e-commerce, dealing with the new platforms, technology providers, infrastructures, hardware, medical services and equipment also. We have seen an overwhelming demand globally for Malaysian products such as rubber gloves, medical gloves, PPE equipment, sanitizers. Thirdly is the halal food and beverages. Now, this is a growing, as I'll show in further slides, this is a globally growing sector. It's the demand, there is a very big gap between demand and supply. Large economy, this can cover the majority of the Middle East, Africa, large markets in Europe, etc. And also thirdly, online education. Quite a number of universities, as mentioned by Jennifer earlier, have presence here. But I suspect now with the prevailing of online education, my kids are studying at home now, that there will be more demand for UK certified, UK standard education certificates, qualifications, etc., to be offered to Malaysian and ASEAN population. This is just in a nutshell what we see as the growing or the emerging opportunities after the COVID-19 pandemic. Next slide, please. Next slide is about CIMB. Who are we and why are we think we are best positioned here to help UK companies through our partnership with BMCC and also with our strong partnership with Santander UK and Santander Group. CIMB is the second largest banking group in Malaysia and it's the fifth largest in ASEAN. We have a large network, full commercial and transaction banking presence in key ASEAN markets, including Indonesia, Singapore, Thailand, and Cambodia. In terms of products, we have comprehensive suite of solutions for all types of businesses, from SMEs to corporate across all industries. Mobile banking applications to view balances, approve transactions, receive transactions alerts at real time. Forward-looking strategy, and this is the key important point here to mention, and Vic has mentioned also with regards to the Trade Club Alliance. We see that in the new norm or the new economy or the new paradigm that is emerging, partnerships are key, and working in an ecosystem whereby we see our business partners in the UK as equally as we see them in ASEAN, it's very, very important. The Trade Club Alliance that Santander has initiated and started about 5-6 years ago, and now has about 14 banking groups, is one of the key strategies that we have in terms of business matching opportunities, between businesses in ASEAN, in Malaysia to begin with, and key European markets. Perhaps we can take that into the separate session or during the Q&A session. Next slide, please. Continuing with CIMB is a diverse regional network. We have in Malaysia 234 branches, in Indonesia 375 branches. We even have a branch in the UK in London. We have presence in Vietnam, in Philippines, as most of our operations are digital banking. We have 14 branches in Cambodia and 65 in Thailand. We have also a rep office in Myanmar. We have stockbroking collaboration in US, India, South Korea, and we have an investment banking presence in Brunei. Next, please. Transaction banking at CIMB, as I mentioned, we offer full suite of products: cash management services, trade finance services, securities services, financial institution products. We cater to government and statutory bodies, government-linked multinational corporations. We have relationships with large organizations. Some of them have been shown in the slide by Jennifer earlier in terms of UK branded names that are in Malaysia. We are banking them. We deal with large corporates and also sole proprietors and partnerships. Next. Next slide, please. Okay, I mentioned earlier briefly about halal and why Malaysia has seen that this is an opportunity for the global halal hub, to place Malaysia as a global halal hub. According to the Euromonitor, that there are 3 growth opportunities projected in Southeast Asia: beauty, fashion, and halal food sector. These are the largest areas for growth in the next 10 years. The global halal economy is estimated to be estimated at, by the end of 2018, at $6.4 trillion against 3.2 trillion reported in 2012. So in 6 years, it doubled. Globally, Muslim expenditure on food and beverages was estimated at 1.12 trillion in 2014, potentially rising to 1.58 trillion in 2020. I mean, plenty of trillions and 62 and 50%, etc., etc. Just to prove the point that there is a huge potential in that sector. This is why the government of Malaysia has positioned themselves as a leader in this sector, and this is why a bank like CIMB has seen that, you know, this is an opportunity where we can introduce Malaysian companies and foreign companies interested in entering this sector into Malaysia or ASEAN with their products. Perhaps we can cover that a bit later, because we've had some very interesting stories here in between Santander, UK, and Malaysia in terms of business matching activities. Next slide, please. Malaysia exports 8.8 billion Malaysian ringgits in terms of 50 billion ringgit. That's around 10 billion pounds in terms of halal exports of Malaysia. I wouldn't go into the details, but there are 5 main sectors: food and beverages, pharmaceuticals, cosmetics, agribusiness, and fashion. Fashion also is considered as halal under the modest fashion branding. Next slide, please. As you can see, the top 5 Malaysia halal partners by export volume: China, of course, with 6.64 billion ringgit. Second after that is UK and EU, with combined at almost as much as China, 10% of the total halal export of Malaysia, almost 10% to the UK and EU bloc. That's 5.3 billion ringgit a year. These figures as at end of 2018. Next, please. In CIMB, what have we done? CIMB, we have positioned ourselves as an ecosystem builder for this sector. We have partners with some of the government departments, with some certification authorities. We have also worked with logistics and delivery services. We have worked with development agencies and also with some technology partners who can provide us with solutions. So that the idea here is that we build an ecosystem for our customers so that they can benefit from all members of that partnership between the various members of the ecosystem. This is still at the beginning of its formation, but we are seeing some very encouraging signs of the success of this ecosystem approach. We've had interest from companies in Korea, in Japan, in Europe, Poland, in South Africa, and definitely the UK have been the most promising out of them because of the relationship we have with Santander UK. Thank you very much. As you can see, I have a lot to talk about, and I was trying to cram as much as I can in those 15 minutes. And now Paul is here telling me you've done with your timing. So thank you so much for listening.
Thank you very much, Hussam. No, you're perfect, and thanks very much for that, for the interesting facts and the overview of the market there. It was really useful. Before we go into our Q&A session, and I just want to keep you on this one, which I think might be quite important because, as we all know, Malaysia had a new government, and that came in just before the COVID epidemic, which was obviously not the best time for them. I'm just wondering if it's too early yet, or whether they are looking at their business agenda and what may be expected from that.
I think Malaysia have always been, and even the government that came before this, and very business friendly and very aware of the importance of reviving businesses post COVID-19. The government of Malaysia have been very supportive towards SMEs, ensuring that there is a moratorium for payment of interest for 6 months for all SMEs, automatic moratorium. All banks have subscribed to this. There was no exception. The government also is looking to various stimulus packages to revive this economy, to bring it back to not just to where it was before COVID-19, but to different levels as well. Now we have the added advantage of having technology as an accelerator for quite a lot of businesses. Technology, as you can see now, is enabling us to talk directly to UK businesses and not just to our local businesses. So we believe that there is quite a lot of opportunities that will emerge post the COVID-19. The government of Malaysia is fully aware of that and will do everything necessary to ensure that the businesses in Malaysia are recovering well post COVID-19. I say this, and I think we as a bank play our role as well in facilitating business matching activities, in facilitating also whatever we can do. What we have started seeing now, that we as banks, we do more than just banking. We facilitate now technology, we facilitate training, we facilitate business activities. We have, and this is what I mentioned about the ecosystem approach. We talk to various organizations outside banking to see how best we can connect businesses together and how best can ensure that all businesses is a win-win situation for businesses and financial institutions alike.
Thank you, Hussam. Thank you for that. So let's move now to some questions which have been sent in by our listeners, and I'll start off with you, Jennifer, if I may, please. Just a question here from our colleague. Are you anticipating any serious financial challenges for entering the Malaysian healthcare market, given the current climate? And there is a clause here, and particularly in the private healthcare as well.
Financial challenges? What? Can you clarify that?
Do you anticipate any serious financial challenges for entering the Malaysian healthcare market, particularly with the private healthcare groups?
Okay, in terms of, I hope I'm able to answer this question because I'm really not so sure. But in terms of, as Hussam mentioned, there is opportunities in the the healthcare market now. Lots of opportunities. People are looking for collaboration partnerships in Malaysia. And in terms of financial, definitely in a sense that the medical sector has faced, every sector is facing some form of financial challenges, and the government has put in place various initiatives to support and combat these challenges. So really, I'm thinking it depends on the type of services, because the sector is quite wide. What kind of services are the companies offering? And then it will be better if this company that is asked this question, or have a one-to-one chat with us to understand better of their question. Then we will be able to answer it. Yep.
Yeah, lovely, Jennifer. We will share that question with you, and you can probably go straight back to them.
Yes.
Vic, one has come through here. It's actually a couple of questions from one person. One is, could you explain a little bit about your relationship with UK Export Finance? As you know, UK Export Finance, a governmental organisation which will not allow an order to go without substantial financing being available. You just highlight what the relationship is there with UK Export Finance and how that works.
Right, thanks for the question. I would say this, we are not competitors with UK Export Finance. We work together with UK Export Finance. They come into play when we do not have the full risk appetite to underwrite a deal. So when we don't have the full risk appetite to underwrite a deal, we turn to UK Export Finance to come in, but Santander will still take 80% of the risk and UK Export Finance will take 20% of the risk. So playing, as you say, Paul, on that motto that no viable UK export will fail because of a lack of finance.
Well, that's really good to know, that support. And another one, I think probably we could get some comment also from Hussain as well on this one. Yeah, I mean, we can only guess a little bit at this one, but I think it is important for UK exporters who are looking to get back into the market. And we heard a little bit about lifting of restrictions, but yeah, this may be a little bit of a pie in the cloud one, but when do you expect travel to Malaysia to be reinstated? Santander, this attendee obviously is aware of some trade missions that you've been running, Vikram, which unfortunately had to pull back. Are you still looking to run them, and when do you expect them to be reinstated?
So on the part of when can you travel to Malaysia, so the Malaysian Director General of Health gives briefings every day to the media, and one of the things that was the media asked him was, when is he going to lift the restriction? Because now, if anyone from anywhere outside Malaysia, even if you're a Malaysian citizen returning home, you get quarantined at the government facility or hotel under the government's control for 2 weeks. The indication from the Director General of Health is that is probably one of the last things that they're going to look at. So that is to quote him. In terms of our plans, yes, we were thinking of running few things. In the second half of the year, we were looking at doing something on wholesale and retail, and we were looking at doing something around halal and mihas. The largest halal trade show is held in Malaysia, which CIMB are the main sponsors of. We do not foresee ourselves doing anything physically this year, at least. We are going to be looking at doing more virtual focused events where we are going to work with CIMB and the British Chamber in order to see what we can do virtually and how we can connect British businesses to partners, buyers, and distributors. So that's an action on me, and I need to pick those discussions up.
Anything else to add to that, Hussain?
I mean, everyone is looking forward to opening up of travel, and you see, Malaysia is the hospitality and tourism sectors are huge. They contribute probably around 15% of GDP coming from tourism and hospitality, and at the moment, that's the hardest impacted sector in the country. And with that, there's quite a number of small businesses and reliant and dependent on that. So I think it's in everyone's interest to open that. However, the debate was about saving lives versus saving livelihoods. And Malaysia has done exceptionally well in terms of managing the COVID-19 pandemic, in terms of the numbers of infections and fatalities. So the government wouldn't want to sacrifice this achievement for anything. I think, as Vikram has mentioned, when we discuss about Mihas, which is the largest halal exhibition, when I speak to the authorities here in Malaysia, they postponed the event from the 1st of April to the 1st of September. Now we are in June, and when I asked them, is it still happening? I know deep inside that probably it will not happen this year, but everyone is saying yes, maybe, that we are still looking, we're still waiting. So the intention is there that, we want to open up, but everyone is, very, very careful as to when and how we do it. And, we don't want to open up and then have a second wave of this pandemic and then everyone regrets it. So I realistically, probably by the end of this year, beginning of next, if things continue to subside on the pandemic side, so we will have some kind of opening up probably by the end of the year, beginning of next. Before that, I doubt. If there is a second wave, I think it will be even longer.
Excellent. Okay, thanks, Susan. Jennifer,
can yes, I just wanted to add on in terms of, all businesses are now looking at a different way of doing business. So, you will see more and more companies are working digitally. So we may not be able to do a physical trade mission or a trade roadshow, but I would like to, inform companies to consider if we could, do a virtual trade show. Similarly, having the same agenda, but you don't need to travel. This is the new norm, post COVID. So something to consider. Other countries are considering it, and we should also look at that to ensure that the economy is continuing to flow. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely, and that is something that we're looking at also, a virtual trade mission on how we can get people engaged with overseas markets in the ASEAN and with buyers. And that leads us on to another question for you, Jennifer, which is coming based around that really, because we've got a question here. Obviously, a company here is looking to get into the market and looking for a partner. And the question is, what is the process for an SME looking to get into the marketplace with a partner? How long does that take? And what is the process with the Chamber?
Okay, the process with the Chamber, I think immediately is do drop me an email. After that, Paul, you'll be sharing our email contacts, and we will start the conversation going to understand how we can support you. As a partner of the Department for International Trade, we will give some form of complimentary advice in the beginning. And then once, depending on the industry, the opportunities, some sectors are much easier to find a partner. Some sectors, especially if it's very specific, it will take a lot of time and effort by the trade team. I have a small trade team within BMCC. We'll look into finding that opportunity, finding the right partner, and then from there we will take it on. So the timeline, it really depends on the individual parties. What we do is we do the introductory meetings, and then after that we get the companies to handle it themselves. That's where we also bring partners like Santander to support further, or our other members to support further. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much, Jennifer. No, that's perfect. So, actually, in fact, we've reached the end of our webinar. The hour has just flown. I would like to thank all of our speakers for a very interesting and informative session on the growth opportunities in Malaysia. And thanks to all our attendees. I trust that was useful to you. Finally, just to mention, our next webinar event in the UK-ASEAN Digital Export Series, Protecting Your Intellectual Property in Southeast Asia, is next week on the 10th of June, and registrations are still open for that webinar. When preparing to access a new market, including Southeast Asia, you should always prepare an IP strategy to prevent loss of revenue further down the road. This is particularly important if you're looking for licensing your products to a local partner or selling through local agents. So please join our webinar next week with Christabel Coe, who is the Southeast Asia Regional Intellectual Property Business and Trade Advisor with the Alinta Intellectual Property Office based in Singapore, to learn more about what you need to know about protecting your products and services. So once again, thank you very much to everybody. Goodbye and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.